I don't think there's hardly anybody here, is there, besides us?
I think we're the only, well, I don't know.
There was a few cars, you know, when we first come in and started unloading and everything. Not very many. Then it's all pretty much empty after that. No, I don't think there's any. Are they going to try to fix trailers here?
Top of the brass was cut facing the chair. Decided we put them along up in front of the chairs lined up at the top where the grass was cut from here. And Sergio,
That's what I was thinking. I hope that's all right. Yeah, that's like that.
So for everybody to know what we'll be doing today, we'll be doing a flag folding presentation, and then there'll be a 21 gun salute, so you expect some loud gunfire, and then we'll have the test. Okay?
Yes.
Very good. Okay. I thought, well, I took it off of there, how to get back to it.
Are you guys ready, or do you want to?
Yes,
Yes, we're
anytime
ready.
you are.
That's pretty close. Honor guard. Attack. Up. Where's that? Arms.
On behalf of the most grateful nation, people of the United States, Department of the Army, Knox County Joint Veterans Council, I want to present you with this flag in honor of veterans of military service.
I'd like to present you these cartridges in remembrance of the honor guard who always fired them by his honor. They represent duty, honor, and country. Thank you.
Prepare the fire. Aim. Fire. Aim. Fire. Aim. Present arms. Order. Arms. Fall out.
Thank you.
Good job, guys. Appreciate
That
what
was
you did.
wonderful. Thank you.
It's an honor to do it. Won't you hold them and pass them on? Thank you, guys. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. That's close. Very much. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Make sure you stay close to these.
Okay. Well, look,
There's 21 of them out there. We'll go find the rest.
He said, well, I don't know if they gave them all to us or not, Danny.
They couldn't find them all. They gave us
Yeah.
what they could find.
You take one. I'll take one. I'm gonna take one for Denise.
okay.
I don't know what's left. Do you think?
Thank you.
Here's a pack for you.
Bless you.
Yeah, we're ready, Neil. Go ahead.
I guess it's my turn, people. I'm not a speaker. I don't do good in front of crowds. I can talk to anyone of you person to person and tell jokes and everything else, but when it comes to talking, you know, to a crowd of people, I'm not very good at it. But I want to read something here that Danny wrote for Leroy, and I want this to be a happy time. I mean, he's right here. He's with. Tribute to Buddy Leroy Kyle. Leroy was a very caring and giving person. He loved his family, was very proud of his children and their accomplishments. I didn't know I was going to do this. He liked sharing their experiences and being there for them. He volunteered at a local hospital to help with the hospice care program. When he was in the Army, he was a part of the Bugle got me. He was part of the 82nd Airborne. He was a parachute rigger, and he made 27 jumps. He liked traveling and excitement. He joined the carnival and worked as a carny for a while. He enjoyed meeting people, and he decided to be an Uber driver. He liked to find cemeteries and post information for markers, to find a grave and other historical websites. He created a family tree for Dad's side of the family. He obtained information that showed that our great-grandfather, John Wesley Kyle, owned over 600 acres in West Virginia. He also was involved in early gas and oil exploration and production. Most of all, he's my brother, and I love him. We will meet again in that glorious place that Jesus has prepared for us, where Joyce and Mom and many others are already. And I don't know if you all know of the White Family Cemetery, but my grandfather owned a farm in southern Ohio. And back in the day, why, it was not unusual for family members that died to be buried on the property. So there may be maybe 50 or more graves there. Mom's there, Uncle Willie, Aunt Helen, their 3 children. I'll be there someday. My ashes, the same as Leroy. And it's just a special place in southern Ohio. If you ever all get a chance to visit there, why, it'd be worthwhile. It's in Meigs County. And then just thinking back on our childhood together, I'll tell a story that's not on the paper, but Buddy Leroy wanted to change his name from Buddy. I don't know, he didn't like the name Buddy, so he wanted to change it to Leroy, so I've always called him Leroy. But when we were just little kids, we used to live in a house kind of catty-cornered across the street from a store. And we were out walking. I don't know if we was hand in hand. I don't think we was that good of friends, but we may have been hand in hand. But anyway, we were going down the sidewalk, and some construction workers there said, "Hi, buddy." And my brother didn't say anything. We walked on a little bit. He punched me. "Neil, how do you know my name? How do you know my name?" And I got a kick out of that. But there's so many childhood things. The night he died, I laid there. Memories flooded over of all the childhood things and all the life that we had as brothers. And this poem was written by my wife, Jane, and I'm going to try to read it to you if I can keep my voice, but it says, I remember when I got the call that you'd passed on. My mind became flooded with memories of tears, laughter, fights, and lots of fun. I remember that we really tried to sleep. I really tried to sleep, but it was no use. Memory after memory kept popping into my head of things we used to do. I remember as kids we mowed yards, and we struggled with an old push mower. I don't know if y'all are old enough to remember the old, before they put gasoline motors on them, they had old reel-type mowers, and they had a handle on both sides. So he'd get on one side and I'd get on the other, and we'd go around the neighborhood and we'd mow yards for people. 50 cents or $1 or whatever they'd pay us, and that was our candy money and what have you. But anyway, I remember as kids, we mowed yards, and we struggled with an old push mower. It was hard, but we got the job done. You on one side and me on the other. I remember all the times we crossed the Chester Bridge, and I don't know how many of you know where Chester's at, but there's a little creek called Shade River, yes. And this bridge crosses it, and there's 2 big cement arches across that bridge, and they're high. They're way up there. But I'd walk across the bridge. Leroy, he'd run across the arches. Okay, he was always a daredevil. And I remember the times that we crossed the Chester Bridge, and I walked across very sensibly, but you ran across the top of the arches. High flying, like a bird, flying free. I remember our adventures along the river. You liked all those creepy-crawly things. At one time, you even had a pet moccasin, which with pliers, you defanged it so you could play with it in the car. This was when he was much older, when he had that snake. And the story about that was, he had it in some town in North Carolina, I think, Greensboro or someplace. And he was playing with it there in the car, windows rolled up, I guess. And a couple college boys come walking along, and they saw him with the snake. And they found it on the window, I guess. And they said, "Would you sell us that snake? We want it for our biology experiment." And he said, "Yeah, I'll sell it to you." So he sold him his pet snake. But I remember the time we were riding around in my old Hudson coupe. Dad helped me buy, and I think I was only 15 years old. I think he lied about my age, and I got a driver's license when I was 15. But anyway, I had this old Hudson coupe, and we was going to take a trip down to visit the grandparents down in southern Ohio. And I will say this, my dad never drove an automobile, my mother never drove an automobile. If we wanted to go anyplace, we hitchhiked, but that was just the day. And anyway, we were in that old car, and we got to Lancaster, Ohio. And I somehow missed a road or something. I got in a construction area, and I could see there was water ahead. And it looked pretty deep to me, but Leroy said, "Oh, Neil, you can make it, you can make it. Hey, you can get through there." So I tried. And that old husband had a cork clutch. It was called a wet clutch, running oil. And that water had flooded clear up to the floorboard, and it destroyed the clutch. So we pushed the car out of there. And I remember we was trying to push it up a hill, and we got so far up the hill, and the door was open, I was trying to steer, and I accidentally hit a tree and bent the driver's door clear up against the front fender. But anyway, ended up junking the car, and we hitchhiked back to Columbus. But anyway, that's that story. We came to some deep water, and you said, "Keep going." Well, we ended up with a flooded car, and then we had to hitchhike home. I remember, by some strange fake of luck, we got stationed in the same military base. We never told anyone that we were brothers for fear that they'd separate us, which they would have. So many memories. I could go on and on, but for now, it's time to say goodbye. And brother, when it's my time to go, I hope to see you on the other side. And that's all the poem, and that's all of what Danny had to say. And I've got so many other stories of Leroy. I remember Dad used to say, and I don't think he said it to Leroy, but he used to say, "Well, he's a 7-month baby, and a 7-month baby will never live to be more than 26 years old." Well, Leroy came to me when I lived in Orient, and he said, "Neil, you know what the date is?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I'm going to be 26 years old." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, Dad told me I'm going to die before I'm 26. I said, "Leroy, you're not going to die." And here he is. He lived to be 80. So anyway, but he one time told me, he said, "Well, I don't know if I'd have jumped out of planes and did all the crazy things I did," but he said, "I didn't think I was going to live very long." That's about as much as I can say about him. And anybody else come say something? And I'm sorry I'm breaking up people, but I'm just not a public speaker. Leroy, we're going to miss you, but we know you're still here with us. We're all going to join you one day. Carol, do you want to say something? David?
Well, I want to thank you all for being here, because I know it's a challenge for some of you to get here. And even though he didn't want anything, I'm glad that you orchestrated this little get-together as one more time to, get together and say goodbye to him in a way that I think he would have appreciated. He was very proud of being in the service. And every time we saw an Army surplus store or something, he'd always go in and buy those wings. Remember, Dave? He had the little pin, and everything.
And
So
you give me MREs.
he was, he was very proud of that, and he loved his family a lot. And I know he regretted that because of where we live, that he didn't get to see you all as much as he would have liked to. But it was a 43-year run. He told me it was going to be 44 years, but he missed it by a year. And he was pretty good at math, so I don't know how that happened. But he always said that if we're not really married, it's a 44-year lease.
He gonna trade you in?
I would assume so, but I was always the younger one, so I don't know how much younger he would have got, but I can't even go over what 43 years of, really was a roller coaster. But the last few years, we had a good time together, and he was very supportive of my parents and took as good a care of my mom when she was living with me as he would have done with his own. And, for that reason, my family really, my brother especially, is really hurting and missing him because he was so good to so many people. I really wasn't prepared to talk, but, I got He gave me a beautiful family, you know, his son and his daughter. My daughter, she has a lot of problems sitting a long time in the car, so she wasn't able to come down. But, you know, we did the best we could at the end, and I think he went the way he wanted to, and he'd be thrilled that you guys could all get together, to have all his siblings together, well, except for Joyce, but, you know, and I think he would have been really happy and pleased with what you did, and I just thank you.
Well, we want to thank you for taking care of him
Yeah.
during this.
It was easy to do.
difficult.
He was, you know, he didn't like to bother. He was just like his mom, you know. Well, I hate to bother you, but I'm like, since when do you hate to bother me? Just, you know, whatever. You know, he had hankering for these smoothies from McDonald's. You know, could you pick me up a lemon smoothie? You know, but he was just very appreciative up until the very end. So, you know, he didn't want to do the dialysis. He didn't want to ruin his quality of life because he heard a lot of negative things about it, and so this is what he chose. And he arranged hospice for himself. I called hospice. They're coming tomorrow. I go, what? You did what? You know, he went the way he wanted to go, and
I respect him for that.
yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we'd have loved to have him a few more years and see more of his two little granddaughters so they could remember him more and whatever, but they'll be fine. We'll all be fine, and it's, again, just thank you all for coming. I know some of you traveled a lot further than we did. Oh, I was glad that you had it.
It was important that you be part of this.
I want you to have this flag, Danny.
Also, you can, and we'll have to get together, David, and decide if you want to go down with it and set it as.
Sure.
We can take a date.
I don't think you
for
ever
local time.
Sure.
I'm going to give this to Danny because they actually gave me one out also, and I know he'd want Danny to have it.
Well, thank you.
And thanks again for what you did. And, you know, those visits, those last few, that Rubik's Cube. I'm telling you, if he would have had a burial, that cube was going with him. Because he spent so much time. He never got more than 2 sides done. But he didn't give up trying. He did not give up trying.
Give him something to challenge.
It was the best thing ever. That and next to a computer, which I already had several of. So
I was
thanks.
going to tell the story about the computers that he used to collect when the schools would get ready.
Not used to. Not used to.
He was still doing it.
I told David, you got to go through this stuff. Monitors, and he kind of graduated to laptops, but he still has quite a